Hi guys, the Cajun recipe I'm bringing you today is almost as important in my home state as gumbo. Jambalaya is a spicy rice dish that you might pronounce wrong if you aren't from here, but you will never forget its fun and flavor. My Cajun chicken and pork jambalaya with andouille sausage is hearty, seasoned well, and perfect for the winter months. Actually, it's great any time of the year with a variety of sides, like a side salad in the summer or roasted Brussels sprouts for the fall. Basically, it's pieces of tender chicken and pork that are slow cooked and simmered with rice and spices until it becomes creamy. And don't forget about the pieces of that spicy andouille sausage sprinkled in the mix. There's a reason it's a favorite in our part of the country. It's because it's good. Honestly, this dish is not hard to make, but the prep work is a little bit tedious. So I've already diced up my yellow onion, and then I've moved on to my 3 stalks of celery, and I'm just dicing them finely, that way they can cook down in the jambalaya. Then I'm going to move on to some green onion, and I'm going to separate the white parts of the onion from the green, and I'm going to chop them up separately because we're going to add them to the jambalaya at 2 different times. Once my veggies have been prepped, then it's time to move on to the meats. I'm going to be dicing or chopping up andouille sausage, boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and some pork. Now, you'll see in this video that some of these pieces of meat are rather large. I'm going to recommend that you do not do that. I should have chopped my meat up a little bit smaller. Truly, you want bite-sized pieces in jambalaya. But my hands were hurting after all of the chopping of the meat, so that's why my pieces of meat here are on the larger side. But listen to me, take my advice, make sure you get those chunks of meat a little bit smaller. Your guest will appreciate it. Now, I have a confession to make. Even though I was born and raised and still reside in Louisiana, I've rarely came across a good jambalaya. Some common problems that I have found is that they're either dry or not seasoned well. Whenever you're dealing with rice, it can be very tricky. But if you follow my directions exactly as listed, you will have neither one of those problems. Some people prefer their jambalaya a little bit drier, aka fluffy, and that is possible with this recipe if you let the rice cook longer and absorb more of the liquid before you stir. But I prefer mine to have a slight creaminess. So we started the cooking process with some avocado oil in a large, heavy bottomed pot. Then I just put my andouille sausage in there and let it cook and render down some fat and get a little bit of color. Then I took it out, I set it aside, and I added an entire stick of butter. This is the point in which I'm going to add my chicken, my thighs, and then my pork, and I'm going to cook this in batches. Now, ideally, you would like to get a little bit of color on there, but I think because I had so much moisture in the pot, that wasn't really going to happen. So I just simply put enough meat in there to cover the bottom, and I stirred it and let it cook for a few minutes, took it out, and then put another batch in. I think with all the meat that I cooked, I did this about 5 times. So it was just a constant repeat process of put meat in, let it get a little color, take it out, set it aside. Put more meat in, let it get a little color, stir it, take it out, set it to the side until all of my meat was cooked. Now it's time to add my diced yellow onion, the whites of the green onion, and the garlic to the pot, and I'm going to give that a good stir. We're going to cook the onions for a few minutes until they become translucent, and after that, we're going to add the cubes of pork and chicken and sausage back to the pot with the onions and garlic, and we're going to mix well. Now, I like to make sure that I am stirring because garlic has a tendency to burn. We're cooking this on a medium-high heat. Then I proceeded forward with my frozen bell pepper and onion blend, and then I added my celery, and I'm going to let that cook and give that a really good mix. Now it's time to add back in our andouille browned sausage and give that a stir. And then the star of our dish, the white rice, is going to be added, and we're going to mix that really well. Now, sometimes people like to stir in the rice and try to let it get a little bit of color. If you're using a cast iron skillet, that would work great. But in my pot, I just really wanted to mix it up and get all the flavors in there. And then it was time for me to add the chicken stock, the thyme, the Tony's Cajun seasoning, the pepper, and the bay leaves. After I've stirred everything in, got it well incorporated, I'm going to bring the pot to a boil, and then I want to reduce it to a simmer and cover it with a lid. We're going to let it cook for 30 minutes covered, and then when it's finished, we're going to remove the lid and add all of those green onion tops and lots of hot sauce. Forgive me in the video, I don't know how I did it, but I was out of Louisiana hot sauce, so I was so upset. But I grabbed another kind of hot sauce in my fridge and made do. But trust me, Louisiana hot sauce is the best. When you've incorporated your onions in your hot sauce, serve immediately with a crusty piece of French bread and your favorite sides for the most delicious meal. You gotta make it, guys. You have to.